Hello, people. It's been a while. It's been almost 4 months now since I posted anything. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to do an update to what's been going on recently within the last 4 months and what's planning on going ahead with the channel and uh, you know posting my life on social media. Uh, so my father passed away on the end of September, close to the start of October. It was the end of September now. The dates have just been so much of a blur recently. So we lost our dad very unexpectedly. He died from a couple of things. My dad always had bad breathing problems, had COPD, asbestos in the lungs, and just generally really bad, shitty lungs. And he was also had a lot of liver damage. He was an alcoholic, pretty badly. So on the death certificate, really, it was two things. It was for a few days before he got brought in emergency. He was very yellow. It was like very jaundice, and he collapsed a few times. But we didn't expect it was going to be this bad. And then, actually, I was in the gym one of the days, and I got a call from my brother, and my mum, to say that your dad's not well. You have to phone an ambulance when I get taken in. And it was just for the jaundice. He was bright yellow, and he went in, and he phoned us that night when he was in there. Couldn't really get a breath out, couldn't really talk. But that night in the phone, he seemed alright. He said to my mum, just obviously let him know. And that was last week. We heard from him. I sent him a text. He didn't get it, and that was it. I did go up and see him. His phone had water damage. It was broke, and he was basically comatose the whole time. You could tell he was making moaning noises in the bed, like he was in pain and discomfort, but he was not fit for any kind of conversation or anything like that. And then he contracted a really bad chest infection, which a normal chest infection or cold, normally, if my dad got it, would have wiped him out. It really would have wiped him out, just with his lung conditions and everything. So he got a chest infection, and he was fighting the liver, temporary liver failure. The odds were kind of stacked against him. And then we got a phone call 2 days after that in the hospital to say that his bed was exposed to COVID. Not specifically he had COVID, that his bed was exposed to COVID. So, safest place you can be, hospitals, fucking sure. But we got a phone call on the Monday. He went on the Thursday, and throughout the day on the Saturday, the doctor said it doesn't look good. We didn't expect it to be like that at all. We thought he would have got out. And then on the Monday, we got a phone call that night to pretty much come up and see him to say our goodbyes. Which, in this current pandemic, wasn't. Our mother has Alzheimer's, so it's me and my brother, and my mum has Alzheimer's, mid-stage, and she knows what's going on. But bringing her up there and stuff with him, But we went to see him anyway. Me and my brother went in, and we both privately said our goodbyes in the room. Very, very unemotional feeling in terms of having to wear COVID gear, visor masks, and essentially feel like I was in some sort of, I was a surgeon or a part of a SWAT team. It just was not connecting at all. But anyway, we got through it. We said our goodbyes. He didn't go that night, but my mum stayed with him. We went back home, and then we all knew it was going to happen. And then in the morning, he passed away. But it's just been very mental from that point. Everything happened at once. My partner was very heavily pregnant. At that point, she was going to give birth within about a week to this point. And then there was the outlook of having to look after my mum, because my mum can't stay on her own, because my dad minded her. There was dealing with all the financial stuff that my dad left for us over. And then, at the time, my dad and mum had looked after 2 dogs, and I was going up and down the house constantly because my mum ended up staying with my brother. I was going up and down, letting them out every 2 hours, and they were shitting in the house, and it was just a nightmare. And it was the prospect of having to give up the dogs up as well. So everything just happened at once. It was really getting punched by every barrel. And then come up to the funeral was on a Tuesday, and my partner had a scan, the last check on the Friday before it, which she was told she was 2 centimetres dilated and she could come at any time. And it didn't come at any time. And come the funeral, the baby still hadn't been here. So there was the panic of the baby was going to come to the funeral, but it actually came, I'm glad to say, the day after. And we gave birth to a beautiful baby girl called Hallie. Yeah. I mean, talking about the emotional side, the hardest bit probably of losing, like, which you guys could probably, any people watching this have lost a father or a parent would probably sympathise and understand, if you have kids especially, is the hardest bit's the kid element. My dad only had one grandchild, and that was Dorian, my little boy. He's about a year and a half now, close to. And he was very generous to him, and you could say my dad came out of a shell very much. My dad came from a very old-fashioned school of, it was the women and the mothers that looked after kids, who pushed the prams, who changed the nappies. It wasn't the guys, right? But that being said, my dad was a very hard fella, we would call him in this country, a hard man, tough, really tough, really tough, scarily tough, but also extremely kind. The weird element, really kind and polite, really overly polite actually. And the worst bit is just not be two sides, not having my dad to be able to see Dorian get a bit older, or have to have met Hallie, and also vice versa of Dorian not being able to see his dad. I know it's terrible to say, but it felt like the day my dad went, I kind of felt like almost I lost two parents in a nurturing aspect. I know it's horrible to say. Being that our mum does have Alzheimer's in mid-stage, she's good a lot of the time, sometimes not. And sometimes, or most of the time, it's turned into me and my brother. My brother looks after her now, but being the kind of minder, essentially. Almost flipping a parent, I know that happens when we get older. You end up having to look after your parents. And I do think that's the day you kind of lose them in that sense. The ideal idea of what a parent is. But one thing of all this anyway struck me during even the whole period, linking in training and everything. I found out about my dad while I was training on the Thursday. I remember what I was doing. Just did deadlifts. I was going over to do some lighter volume squats, and I got the message, and I left. But I did keep training up to that point. On the day we got called in to say our goodbyes, I trained. The day after that, he passed away, and we were down in the house with my mum, with the family around her. I trained that night. My partner stayed with my mum, along with all my other family, brought the kid around and everything. I still trained. I even trained the day of the funeral, I believe. Yeah, I did. I trained that night. And I know to my surrounding family that would have seemed very heartless and probably uncalled for. But the training allowed me to actually be extremely stoic throughout this. I'm a great believer in stoicism. I'm a great believer of essentially accepting that things are what they are and will happen, and having the sternness to get through it for the others around you. I had my mum, I had my family around me to stay strong for. I still have kids. And I very much am of that belief of the masculine figure to stay strong. And I cannot emphasize enough what training did for me in that respect. Ever since I lost weight and I started to train and I got this mindset, my whole regulation of systems of emotions and positivity changed. On that day of the funeral, and on the day going to see my dad, I could be there as a shoulder support. I had my shoulders back and my chest out, and I felt confident to take it on. Now, I still dealt with my own personal emotions through that, but that doesn't mean just breaking down whenever. More so, it meant being being there for your family, to support. You know, there's big campaigns of it's okay to cry for men. Sure, no one's saying that's not the case, but there's a time and place, and sometimes, and I really believe that breaking down in front of certain people does not instill any form of stability, especially when there's kids involved, actually. And that was one thing with our dad. We see him as a very strong, stoic figure, and that's what's so inspirational, because you never seen him cry, never broke down, and that probably was very, even when his own mother died, I don't never remember seeing him cry, and that was just a strong element, and that filled me with great respect, and I adapted a lot of moral values from that. Now, a lot of the new age way of thinking could say that's a predated system. You pick your poison, I'll pick mine. But I feel much more regulated. I'm not unstable. I don't have breakdowns. I understand. I can deal with much more stress. I'm more resilient. And that's what the training did for me. And I never stopped. And my dad was a part of training. I mean, he knew how much it meant to me. When I used to live with him, you know, I remember when I came back, I knew I had meals to prep, and he would have them prepped already because he was sick all the time. Well, he was off sick in the work for 20 years. He would cook my meals. You know, sometimes he would give me, you know, you come in and it's chicken and rice and it's not weighed, and you're looking at it and you're going, that's half a fucking, that's 500 grams of chicken in a meal, Dad. And he would be, I would wonder why I was spending so much chicken, like a kilo at a time, going, whoa. And he was like, oh, you need more chicken? I'm like, I only bought that yesterday. That should have done at least 3 days. But he was very supportive in that element of all sorts. And yeah, I really respected my dad, and I seen him, you know, 3 to 4 days when I left the house a week. You know, I was still very connected with him and close to him. And what I will take from it, and I just hope that some of you can relate to this, or maybe have been through it. The one thing you do take when anyone goes is the moral value system, the structures. And my dad had a great one, in my opinion. I mean, yes, he had a lot of flaws. You know, he struggled with anxiety greatly to the point he had fear to cry, like proper anxiety. You know, not the one that people say these days where it's anxiety off and on, where you're a wee bit shy, you know, which could be perceived as nervousness. Proper anxiety. He couldn't go into shops. Severe nervousness of crowds. Really, really bad. And a plethora of not only depression but suicidal thoughts, and a lot of mental issues and PTSD. He had guns put to his head twice in his life. He had 2 friends shot dead in front of him in the head. He was in the private army for a while during the Troubles over in Ireland. So he had seen a lot of stuff. And still, though, he did what's right for his kids and by his family. And the sternness, it was so respectable. You know, he was really faithful, and he was a strong fucker. He really stout. I take after the genes, sort of short, but a wee bit stocky, can get a wee bit chubby, a wee bit fluffy, a wee bit fat, you know, which has happened over the handlebar mustache that I have to shave off because my missus is going to stop probably, you know, with me soon if I don't. But very strong individual, and his moral structure was very strong but kind. Very manly, masculine, but very generous. Anyone that comes into his house, if, say, a random topic got brought up of a product of some sort that people maybe said, oh, he's meant to get one of them, he would go upstairs, next minute he'd be downstairs, no, you can have that, go ahead. You know, I remember someone coming in once, Light Queen, he went up, he had a signed copy of Queen, he goes, I had that in my drawers, oh, you can take that, yeah, there you go. And I kind of related this to training a wee bit after that. I thought, you know, I've always worked to being strong. You know, this is what I do this for. And with that, I also want to help people, and I've also enjoyed helping people. And that's why anytime people come to me for advice, I'll go to the hills as much as I can to give you as much advice and to help you as I can. People come to the gym, ask me for advice, be it online, whatever it is. I'll do everything I can. And that's a moral structure I'm going to pass on to my kids, and I'm going to adapt for myself. Exactly that. Now, I know this is a bit irrelevant relating this to training, but any advice anyone has that I somehow maybe can help, that I somehow, if I can save you 4 or 5 months of finding out for yourself, whatever, and I can tell you, please, I'll help you for free. No worries, come to me. But going forward from this, once things start to stabilise more, the videos are going to carry on. The next video coming out, actually in the next day or so, will be for planning after the New Year's, whatever the plan is, how to plan your own programming system, if it be for weight loss or bulking, how to do it, 3-parter, how to do it, what to eat, how to plan that, how to plan your training, everything. I'm going to carry on to make these videos because it's an outlet for me and I enjoy it, but it's positive, right? I'm not being opinionated about things. It's talking about what a mutual respect for fitness and everyone in training and all sorts, and I hope the people come to my profile, opens dialogue and enjoy that as well, and it's very mutual. There's no negativity, and I just want to be able to help people, and if I help someone in such a small, minute way, it'll all be worth it. I'll see you all real soon, and I'm not going to stop this gravy train because I love gravy. Take care.